There's a moment in spring when the coat no longer feels necessary. Not incorrect, not out of place, just unnecessary. You step outside and the air is changed slightly. Not enough to demand anything of you, but enough to suggest that something has shifted. And so, without much thought, you leave it behind. It stays on a chair, in a hallway, in a room that already feels behind you. And nothing feels wrong, nothing feels lost, which is exactly why it's easy. But that moment is never just about the coat, is it? It feels practical, reasonable even, like something small that doesn't carry weight. And in isolation, it doesn't. But most changes don't begin with something obvious. They begin quietly, with something you allow, something you don't question. And once it feels normal, it stops feeling like a decision at all. A man stands in front of a mirror, already dressed. Trousers, shirt, tie. Everything is technically in place. The jacket waits. Not required, not necessary, but present. And that's the difference. And that's where the real decision lives. Not in what must be worn, but in what can be left out. Because no one expects it, no one insists on it, there is no consequence for choosing less. And that is precisely what makes it meaningful. It's easy to meet expectations. It's much harder to maintain a standard when it's entirely your own. Two men pass each other on a street. One complete, the other is almost. There is no reaction, no acknowledgement. Everything appears normal. And that's what makes it invisible. The difference isn't dramatic. It doesn't announce itself. But it exists in structure, in proportion, in intention. And once you start seeing this, it's pretty difficult to unsee. Spring begins like this, quietly. A table outside, light returning, space opening up again. And this is precisely where standards starts to drift. Not through rebellion, through comfort, through small decisions that feel entirely reasonable. You take one thing away, then another, nothing collapses, nothing fails. And so it continues, until what once was a standard becomes optional. A man sits alone, fully dressed, not observed, not evaluated, just consistent. Discipline doesn't need an audience. It doesn't perform. It doesn't even announce itself. It repeats, quietly, daily, in ways that seem small at the time, but accumulate, and over time, that repetition becomes identity. Eventually, that looks effortless. A man stands at ease, nothing exaggerated, nothing forced. But ease, it's never where it begins, is it? What appears effortless is almost always constructed. You don't arrive at ease by accident, you build it, choice by choice, layer by layer, until the effort disappears, but the result remains. And then comes the evening. Not an event, just a shift. There was a time when that mattered, even if nothing required it. A man would respond to that shift, not because he had to, but because it felt appropriate. And so the coat stays behind. It doesn't feel like a loss, but over time, something slips. Not loudly, not dramatically, quietly. The last layer.